Virginia, was it you as well? No? Okay, it was Joe Bongiovanni and Mike White and who else? Mark Pash, of course. And well, everyone knows who they are. If they could come up. And also, Professor Nick Tiedemann has just arrived to the conference. He's been at our conferences every year since 2005. So he teaches economics at Virginia Tech. So he's one of those people who's been a long-time advisor for AMI. So we really appreciate everything he's done for us. Please give him a warm welcome to the conference. And behind the screen here, I've got some sheets where we're going to write down some stuff and hopefully get some production out of this. So I'll raise the screen now and all will be revealed. So yeah, we want to try and get some sort of baseline discussion and understanding and possibly agreement on some of the meanings of some of these terms, or what are the best terms to use that are the most have the most resonance with people, because I suppose a lot of you have tried to talk about this with other people, and it's like the eyes glaze over, and it's like talking a different language. So we're going to try and break through that as well. And okay, Mary, would you like to start off with the 3 points that you had talked about?
Hi, my name is Mary Sanderson. This is only my second monetary conference, so a lot of you don't know me.
Use the mic, Mary.
Hello. Hello.
Not yet.
Hello.
Perfect.
So, I first want to start by saying how happy and grateful I am to have found the AMI and these conferences, and grateful to Jamie and AMI for gathering all you scholars and activists and writers and big brains. I do not have any background in finance and economy and money except for personal background. And I'm really happy for the opportunity to talk about what terminology and language we can agree on commonly in order to talk to other people who are going to be interested when they figure out what it is. And I want us to settle on some terms, not today, but start the conversation, so that we can amplify each other. If we all use the same names for our plan that we're promoting, then it will start to become more common among other people. People will be able to look it up and we won't have to explain it every time. So my hope for this panel is that we can begin the conversation and see who loves or hates certain terms for 3 concepts. One is what we currently use for money, if we should be talking about bank money or debt money or loot, or how we should name that we might all learn to use. The second one is a common name that we all might like to use for what we need, the money we need, which is sovereign money, positive money, US money, something, what do people think about? Some good names for that. And the third one is, I really want a name for the plan that we're promoting. When I talk about it with some of my friends in this group, they often bring up the idea that the 3 points are important, that no one should think it can be done partially, and that the name 3 should be in it, but not everyone thinks that. I've heard the name US Money Plan as a good name for what we're doing, and we want to. I think it's important for us to name our plan and have it be our brand. I'm afraid if we don't name it and start putting a name out there that people can use to talk about it, other outfits are going to name us and use it to tear us down. I think it's important we should have our brand. So from there, where to start? Others on this panel might have a completely idea what we're trying to do.
My talk tomorrow is on the subject, or part of it, so I'll be covering it tomorrow. I already have the slides, so Be a Q&A type thing.
Wonderful.
Going back 70 or 80 years, there's a name for part of what the organization proposes, and the name is an end to fractional reserve banking. But I think that that's hard for people to grasp. So when I think about an alternative name, the name or the phrase that comes to mind is required that deposits stay in banks and not be lent.
Say it again.
Required that deposits stay in banks and not be lent. Because when deposits are lent, there's a possibility of bank failure, and if you protect against that by having a deposit insurance, then the deposit insurance messes up the efficiency of the banking system. But that's sort of details. Now, as it happens, I disagree with most of the people in the room about how money should be created, and I'll be talking about when it's my turn to talk. So you'll have to decide whether you like my ideas or not. I expect that a few of you will and a lot of you won't. But I have a hard time coming up with phrases for the rest of the program because it's not something I share with you.
We heard Mary Sanderson's name. Can I ask that each of the panelists be
Oh,
introduced?
sorry.
What's the question?
Your name.
I'm Mark Pash, PSH. Rhymes with cash, this is speed.
I'm Nick Tiedemann. If you see my name, you'll think it's Tideman.
Okay.
My name is Michael White. I've been working on a definitional-based perspective book on this for almost 3 years now.
All right, so what do we call what we use for money now? Harold.
I like debt money because it's, what I find is when I'm out there in the conversation, the people that oppose monetary reform don't like us calling it debt money.
It's a good reason.
Yeah. I agree that what we have is money that is created by debt. Almost all of it is money that's created by debt. So I think that is, as it happens, I like a different kind of debt. But I think it's a good term.
I've heard people call it bank money. Is there a pro-con to if it should be called debt money or bank money?
Well, I think it's good to call it debt money because that relates to how it's created. If it's called bank money, it might seem as if banks can create it whenever they want to. Now that was true to some extent in the 19th century, but these days the only way banks can create money is by lending it out and creating debt. So I think that debt money is better than bank money on those grounds.
Michael, do you have
Well, it's sort of a difficult question differentiating the two, debt money from bank money. I think debt money goes back a bit further than bank money, which I believe was coined by Joseph Huber. And it's sort of associated with his perspective, which is very, very similar and compatible to our perspective. So I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between debt money and bank money, in addition to what these terms mean to, let's say, the man in the street.
Is there another term that we should also consider, or Virginia, what did you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to comment that one is who creates money and one is how money is created. So technically,
The who and the how.
the who and the how. So technically, we have bank debt money. That's what we're using. But in terms of discussing it with people,
Did you guys hear what I said to begin with?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it really is a matter of choosing.
Exactly.
I mean,
And choose something.
Right.
Jerry's got her hand up. Jerry's got her hand up.
I wanted to throw out another term, or maybe two, substitute money,
Substitute money.
or sometimes I use the term credit serving the purpose of money.
That's long.
That's too long. Mary says that's too long.
So, hi. I like bank money, I'll tell you why. Because to me it means the power is in the hands of the bank, as opposed to public money or whatever other term we want to use for when we have the money power in our democracy. So I like the contrast. And I find that when I talk to people and I use the term debt money, they have a really, it doesn't compute and it creates friction.
Use them both. Bank debt money. How's that sound?
That's more friction.
Well, that's what you want, is friction.
I don't know how many people are following the MMT, thing that's going on the internet. The trouble with using the word debt is it triggers a response from a certain crowd. They'll say all money is debt. So it immediately diminishes what we're trying to say. I would just leave that out. It's accurate, but we're trying to get an idea across, and I think we're just creating confusion. I like Huber's bank money as well. I think it's simple, and it shows where the money is derived from. And if we make it too complicated, that's my opinion.
Thank you.
I'm coming around to that point of view. I think that the confusion about whether or not all money is debt and what kind of debt money we like makes it attractive to use bank money instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but another one that I've been using out there is private money versus public money. Now, that's a little confusing sometimes too, so you have to explain it. But I think when we think about privately controlled and profited from and benefited from rather than publicly controlled and publicly benefited is a good distinction too.
Have others tried to use that distinction, private and public money, and with any kind of particular results? Who's got the mic? Ask your question or say.
Yeah, Stevens Arlenga used to say that what we have for money is bank-created credit. He always called it bank-created credit, and most of what we have circulating as money is bank-created credit. That was a phrase he always used.
What do others think of that? So we have two questions now, private public money and bank-created credit.
I'd rather have bank debt.
Bank debt,
Yeah. Bank debt. Well,
bank money.
Yeah, don't call it money.
yeah, well, money created by banks creating debt. But bank debt is the
Let's find an
the
acronym.
short form.
So it's not an easy question.
Jane, you want to summarize this and move on to the next one?
Yeah, like this is just revealed, it's not an easy question because those who have engaged with using the term debt-free money will get an immediate reaction, like Paul was saying to from MMT, but not just MMT, other schools of thought. Sue at the back.
I just wanted to say that Zarlenga's term, bank-created credit is a good way to distinguish from government-created money.
Stevens Arlenga's term, bank-created credit. I think the word credit, people do not understand what credit is. It's just very confusing to me.
Technically, I think John Howell would agree with his presentation earlier. Commercial banks do not create money when they issue a loan. They create credit, which is then transformed into money. The Federal Reserve or central bank backing with reserves actually transforms what are just simply bank credits into what we use for money, because money has to be on the payment system. That's the distinction between credits and money. So I agree with also what Howard was saying earlier. It's probably not ideal to call bank credits money when it really isn't. It's just bank credits that are transformed into money by the Federal Reserve or central bank backing.
Yeah, I would like to agree with that, and I find that a useful way to look at it. It really is, it would be a risk to accept this bank credit, and it would probably get traded at a discount, were it not for the fact that the government underwrites it in so many ways. So you got deposit insurance, you've got the implicit bailout possibility, and various other ways. And you also have the public's acquiescence that this is what we've got. They don't see an alternative, so people go along with it. So it trades one for one. But initially, it really would not be that without that backing. About the word debt, I like to try to avoid sort of knee-jerk reactions where people jump into their own preconceptions, and you're not getting anywhere because you push the button and you can't reach them anymore. At least I'm not very good at reaching people. So I mean, the phrase that it's worth knowing, this is Randall Ray, or one of the MMTers, I think Randall Ray wrote, dry money, saying debt-free money is like saying dry water. This is their view. And it's worth realizing that view is out there. And the grain of speck of truth in it is that the fact that I hold $1 means sort of the society as a whole owes me that return when I want to change it, right? I believe in this system. It's the faith in the money system that allows me to hold this piece of paper as a claim on actual goods and services. But that's a very different thing than calling it, that all money is created as a debt. It's really, it plays with the concepts in a way that's confusing. And I just would like to avoid the knee-jerk reactions. I think we've got to use different terms in different situations, private versus public. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That was what I wanted to clarify with you then. There's not one particular term that you believe would be so helpful for us to try to repeat a lot. You think it depends on the situation?
I think it somewhat depends. I think it's going to be a little hard to just make a decision right here on that. But I wanted to applaud you for seeking this sort of coming together about what our language is, and I think more so the movement itself as a whole. If we could find one name for that, I think that would be very important to do.
Wonderful. Okay, so I do want to hear more about Howard's idea of how public and private money, and Virginia wants to say something, and a gentleman over there wants to say something, but first, Mark.
Just make a correction, bank debt is sold at discounts, and all the time there's a big secondary market and investment market in bank debt. And in 08, we could buy it at nickel and a dollar. We made a lot of money doing that. Okay, now it's a little closer to par. But just like other bonds with maturities and risk, it is sold. There's a big market in it.
You're talking about bonds and notes.
No, I'm talking about bank debt.
Well, yeah, but bonds issued by banks.
No, I'm talking about the debt.
Oh,
Banks make 70 to 80% of their loans on mortgages.
Oh,
And then it reaches, and so they sell them, or they securitize them, or whatever they talk about. So there's a whole market of that bank debt, and I can go out and invest in it. Okay, there's companies that do that for a living, and they're very good at it.
So then you're saying that that is not a good common term for us to use to talk about
No,
the
I'm
money
just
we
saying,
have?
I just want to correct them
All right,
because
okay.
I don't want any misconceptions, it's not out there.
Okay, Virginia?
Well, it's all about relationship, and there can't be debt without a credit. There are two sides. So, and if you go back to John's balance sheet, the money that the bank creates is their debt to the borrower, and it sits on their asset side of their balance sheet as the debt of the person who borrows it. So,
Does that help you favor any term that you?
well, one of the things I found interesting in reading books about money is that people who, and this may not be true, Nick, I don't know, it seems like people who credit, it's a positive word. If I have credit, that's a really nice thing. So if I talk about credit money, people who talk about credit money like the existing system because it's a good thing. But if you call it debt money, then that immediately people don't like it. So that might be one reason for us to use it.
Right.
Yeah, there's a couple of things just come up in the last two things. Mark, you were, just to clarify, you were talking about bank assets that are then resold, whereas we're mainly talking about bank liabilities.
Well, bank asset is a loan.
Yeah, but
And they sell those loans. They
Yeah.
physically sell the loans to other parties, whether usually they're private equity or investment people that buy those loans, or buy part of those loans, called bifurcation.
right. Well, yes, but that's debt that is owed to the bank. Whereas when we're talking about bank money, we're talking about the bank's debt to the depositor. You know, it's the other way around.
Were you talking about the?
I would have said that we're talking about the debts that are owed to the bank by people who borrowed from the bank. That, it seems to me that that is the money creation process.
Right, that's what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
okay, but, well, the money supply consists of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me that calling it bank-created debt is perhaps a good term for it. And now,
Okay, sounds good.
Joe.
Well, thank you. I guess I'll start off by saying, as the director of the Kettle Pond Institute for Debt-Free Money, I kind of have a tendency to keep using that term and to feel that it is an accurate term. We at the Kettle Pond Institute had just exactly this kind of a discussion about what we were going to name ourselves when we named ourselves, and it is completely accurate. And the fact that Randy Ray denies that debt-free money is a reality or can be a reality, and then to say that it's a fantasy and a fallacy, is his myopic way of viewing money. He writes a book, Understanding Money. I don't know if you ever read it. Huh?
We didn't have debt-free money until the 12th century. The rest was all just issued by people.
Debt money or debt-free money?
We didn't have debt money until the 12th century.
Okay. I thought you said we didn't have debt-free money. So the fact is that we've had debt-free money, for thousands and thousands of years. Okay, but then if you just boil that question down to greenbacks, where the statutes, particularly say there will be no debt issued, relative to the issuance of this money, to the currency. So and that was when currency was all the money. So in other words, I would never give up a term on the basis of the fact that one of the people that are trying to deny deny your existence in the discussion that's going out there, says that it's foolish, and then goes and hides behind an inability to have a discussion about it, I will put it out right here. I'm very willing to have a discussion with Randy Ray about whether or not debt-free money is real or not. So I think that the best thing that we can come out of here is a more holistic understanding of what the terms mean, and so that whatever term we're using, there is a sound basis and a kind of a collective wisdom that's imparted to it, rather than to have the one word or the one term that everybody agrees that we need to do, because like I said, I'm a street fighting man when it comes to debt-free money.
Lucien's got her hand up, Joe.
I've been terribly confused, which I do very often, but I will agree with Joe, because the term, you said, what do you call money at the moment? The terms you have done, what are they for? To whom? And in what situation?
Okay, all right, maybe that's the consensus we have here. My question was hoping there would be a term that we could all use and amplify each other's message, and I hear you and others saying there really is no such term. Maybe we can do a quick show of hands before we move on to because we had 3 questions and this is the first. How many here think that it's foolish to try to find one term to refer to what we currently use as money?
Foolish? I wouldn't say foolish.
Well, okay, not foolish, no, but very difficult to find one term.
Or undesirable.
Pardon me?
Undesirable, I'll go with that.
Undesirable and difficult. Just raise your hands up. I those people think, nah, okay, all right, very good. I learned a lot right now, thank you all. Did you raise your hand too, Mark? No?
So what's that? You sing out of the jar?
That was it.
We have another question here.
Is it true then that at least half the people here think that that's not a desirable thing to try to do, find a name? Manuel?
Yeah, maybe a remark from Germany. I am Manuel from Germany. And what we like to call the money is Giralgeld in German. Giralgeld is zero money, because what is actually happening at the accounts at the banks is they put at a giro account. That's basically the technical thing. So we decided to call it Giralgeld, zero money, and it's basically the decision was made due to the process of it.
Giro money is G-I-R-O.
G-I-R-O.
Yeah.
Giro.
Yeah, like post office banks.
Zero as in zero?
No, Giro. Like gyro. We would say gyro. Yeah, like a Greek sandwich.
Giro.
Because actually, we've also had internal discussions about debt money, if you want to call it debt money or not, because banks create money in 2 ways. They create it when they grant loans, and they create it when they buy existing assets from the non-banking sector. And this money is then not debt money, because they have, the money has not come into existence through a debt process. Nobody has to indebt himself to a bank. So like a third of the monetary supply is basically not debt money. You can call it debt money because it's on the liability side of the balance sheet, but it's not been created through the process of somebody getting into debt to a bank. So I believe that the rather technical term giro money, Giralgeld, is quite accurate, because it just describes how it's coming into existence in a balance sheet.
What does that translate into?
Gyro.
Gyro. Called gyro money.
Just what they call the account.
No, not like a gyroscope.
What does gyro mean?
It basically means transfer from person to person, which interestingly is how cryptocurrencies basically operate. So again, we'll be talking a bit more about that in the next few days. Circulating money, yes. Another way of thinking about it is circulating money. It's like most post offices use well, in Europe they still do, I think. And even in the UK, you can do money transfers from one account to another, but they don't create any money, but they just transfer accounts. And actually, you know, if you read the 32-page brochure that should be in your kits, pick it up outside. The Bank of Amsterdam was basically a hero bank, but then they started creating extra money for the Dutch East India Company. They started cheating, but yeah, that started off like a hero bank. But yeah, you can see the difficulty even in describing what it is that we're opposing and how to use in the language. And you know, Stephen Zalanger often emphasised this, that the language has been degraded over decades and centuries to make it almost impossible to think about these concepts. You know, the word seniorage, it's a very important word, but it's, you know, hardly anyone knows what that is. It's the profit from creating money, basically, is a simple way of expressing it. And it is recognised in accounting. You know, I keep talking about that every year in my presentations. It exists, but the knowledge of it is very it's being pushed into the corners, so to speak. But we better move on to the next questions, and then we better move on to the next presentation. So quickly, what should we call what we actually are proposing? What sort of money we're proposing? There's various people talk about public money. They talk about government money. They talk about sovereign money, debt-free money, and just money.
Virginia says U.S. money too. U.S. money or just money?
Public money was proposed.
Do you like that? Do you like
Public money?
How about, in some cases, what about?
I think sovereign money rings right for me.
Stephen?
Yeah, I was gonna just say, Huber's saying he also went sovereign money, and MMT has a version of sovereign money too, so just to distinguish that, we would say public sovereign money.
No, why not join them?
I would think that the idea of
Is there a
public
microphone
money
for
is
this?
Debt-free.
Public money, in my mind at least, seems to be confusing because the public banking people are using that as their definition, which gets around the idea of fractional banking. I mean, it sort of subverges it altogether. So I would think that'd be confusing. We don't want to be co-opted by the opposing party.
Thank you.
Yeah, also people talk about public money meaning just revenue collected by, you know, municipal and state and local and federal governments. Is like that, you're spending public money on that, you know, and so yeah, there's that confusion as well.
We want to get to purity at some point.
And we want to hear from people who have not spoken after this.
I addressed this in my book, and one of the issues, as he mentioned, with sovereign money is that MMT is using it to mean something different. So that does complicate things. And I ended up landing on Commonwealth money because it is authorized and guaranteed by the Commonwealth and also created by the representative of the Commonwealth, which is our government. And I like the just money that the Alliance is using because it is just money, and which addresses the simplicity of it, and it also is a money that creates a level playing field and underlies justice for all, which is one of our goals.
Sue has her hand up.
I just use debt-based money versus value-based money to oppose the two.
Debt-based money versus value-based money. And Mark up here mentioned government money or
Most people, especially in their leadership, think it's government money issued by the government. Congressman never had one successfully answered. I've never had a congressman or successfully answer my question, where does our money come from? They'll
Right.
say the Treasury, and of course they're 100% wrong. And so government money is not a bad term. Yeah.
Actually, they're only 99% wrong. If you look at the monthly Treasury report on page 13, every single time, $274 million worth of US notes. That is true government money, and it's not debt-based, and it is excluded from the American debt legislation.
And where does it go?
Banks buy it.
Well, it goes into your pocket if you have any, and I would suggest you not spend it, because you'll get more money for it on eBay than you will at the local bank or the local store. And I have some of it. And by the way, that's the problem with using US money, because technically, we already have it. They're called US notes. So, and we currently use Fed notes, Federal Reserve notes,
Right.
if you want the technical word. So there is a thing called US notes. They do exist. I have them.
How much?
Dollars.
Yeah,
The Federal
$30.
Reserve notes?
But
No.
you could say that what you want is for the rest of the money supply to be a
I'm
better.
sorry.
Would you say that you want the rest of the money supply to be of that sort?
I certainly would.
Okay, can you summarize that for me now? We'd like the rest of the money to be
Of that sort.
Which is
which is
US notes.
US
notes.
Okay.
Which is what impacts are. Right.
William Hickson used government-created money as distinguished from bank-created money. We would just say GCM versus BCM.
How about positive money's made quite a name for themselves internationally. How about joining forces and just saying positive money? That might be harder to corrupt by others. I mean, anything can be, but.
Thank you. Comments about that? Anybody have a comment about positive money as a term that we might use for what we're promoting? John?
I don't have a comment. One time when trying to write about it, I come up with the idea of pure money. I used the word pure money.
Oh, pure money. What do people think of pure money? Somebody new and different who hasn't talked. Come on.
The problem with pure money is that gold money people call gold the only pure money. And actually, pure money has been used to describe lots of different money systems when they were your favorite.
Okay.
I think that there is a significant possibility of saying that what we want is US notes. No?
No, that's paper.
Well, what we're proposing is not just paper, it can be digital, you know.
But you also don't want to have to create it. A note is an IOU, and you want to be able to create our new money by giving, spending, lending, or investing debt-free.
Yeah, there's also the difficulty that the term note is used for a debt instrument of a maturity between greater than 1 year and less than 10 years, I think it is.
You're right.
Hi. In the search for our alternative organization where we have Alliance for Just Money, one of the terms that was bandied about is honest money.
Would that work for a kind of a brand, something that we could all happily talk about? We want honest money? To refer, oh, I see a big no back there. I need to hear the comment.
It just seems to me government-created money is what we're asking for. That's really what we're asking for, whether it's notes or coins or anything, so that's my vote.
Sue was shaking her head.
Congressionally created money.
What kind?
Congressionally created money.
Oh man, how many syllables is that? Come on.
Congress created money. How's that?
I'm really grateful to you all for this conversation. I knew it was going to be complicated. It's true we haven't settled on anything, but can we kind of take the thought forward that to make it easier for us all to talk about it, we do want to start to find some words that we repeat more than others. And there's still one question, but I don't know if there's time to do it. We might have to move on. We don't want everybody to be too tired before the parity talk.
Yeah, yeah, we can carry on this on, you know, as we go through the conference, we carry on this conversation. We'll just sort of progress along from left to right. And yeah, because we better introduce the parity presentation. That there's a film by Randy Cook. He's the president of the National Organization for Raw Materials, and they were at a lot of the early conferences of AMI, and it's very interesting to me. And what really impressed me about it is that it's empirically based. It's based on empirical data analysis. So that's sort of very in sync with AMI's approach. So Sue's going to play a short video that's been prepared by Randy Cook, President of the National Organization for Raw Materials, and then there's going to be a panel of people here who are engaged with the National Organization for Raw Materials, who are going to sort of talk and reflect on it and also field questions about it. So, Sue, you still got, I need to lower the screen, lower the cone of silence.